Hey, what's going on YouTube channel? Stars down to y'all. Go hard, go home channel. How y'all doing today? Okay, so today I'm gonna be dropping this video. I'm gonna be talking a little bit about how game and romance are kind of the same things. This guy right here is Dr. Orion. I can't say his last name, a country mouth, but he's gonna say his last name. Y'all check him out. He's got a channel called Sci Hacks. Um, Truth about romance. He says romance is for men, or why romance is a poor man's game. And I put game in the same category as romance. Some people won't do that. Let me explain real quick why, and then we're going to get into the video and listen to him. Okay? All it is an alternative way of getting a woman without being able to provide anything for her. He's going to explain that in here, and I'm going to explain it again in the end. I'm going to show how I'm correlating the two. All right? Before we get in there, y'all hit like, subscribe, share. Thank y'all very much for all the subscriptions I've been getting so far. We're going to keep on this journey. Talk about things right there. I don't do the cash apps. Don't send me no money and stuff like that. Just do the comments, send comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know about other videos we think we should talk about in this space. And let's ride. Right now, one to two things before we go into this real quick, what I want people to take away from this video, especially if it's guys watching, is that he's going to explain how there's a competition between high-level guys and low-level guys, and how low-level guys try to compete. I want all guys to kind of pay attention to that. We'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. Let's let him go talk, because I'm finna smoke weed and drink beer like I normally do. That's why I get doctors to talk in front of me for me, because a lot of people don't believe what I say. But here he goes. Let's roll.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology.
Orion
The topic of
Taraban.
today's short talk is the truth about romance. Romance is for men. This title is probably a shock to most of you, especially to the men out there. I'm here to argue that all the things that go into modern romance, the flowers, the chivalry, the bent knee proposals, are actually not for women. They're for men. This was a big realization for me, and it was even bigger because it was actually staring me in the face the entire time. It's so obvious that it's invisible to people. Now, before I get into it, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing, it takes less than a second, and it's how you can support me in my mission to deliver free, high-quality content to the world.
I say the same thing. Same thing here.
Now, let me help you understand why romance is for men. In the pinned comment below, there's a link to this really catchy 90s song called Two Princes by the band Spin Doctors. I remember when I heard the song in the 6th grade for the first time, I made my mom drive me to the mall just so that I could buy the single, which I proceeded to listen to over and over and over again. The song just spoke to me. The song hit #1 on the US charts, and more important to our present undertaking, it perfectly exemplifies what I'm here to talk about. If you haven't done so already, listen to it yourself. It's really catchy. Now, the lyrics of the song tell the story of an age-old romantic trope. Two men are vying for the same woman. One guy is rich. He's established. He has status. As the song says, he's got diamonds in his pockets. But he apparently doesn't really love the woman. On the other hand, the guy, the singer, he's poor, he's got no future, he's got nothing to offer but his heart, but he apparently knows what a prince and lover ought to be. There's nothing new here. This is the same dichotomy you see in almost every romantic comedy or Hallmark movie, so who cares? Well, let me ask you a really obvious and stupid question.
It's also the same thing you see when you listen to the guys who always talking about game and swag. It's the same thing you hear between that. Okay. It's I can get a girl that you can't get. You have this. It works in some other kind of ways. I'm gonna go over it more in the end. But I just want to show right now how those two things fit together.
Why is this always the case? That is, why is it always the rich, powerful man who doesn't believe in love against the poor, down on his luck dude who does? Or, to put it another way, Why is it never the rich, powerful man who believes in love against the poor, down on the luck dude who doesn't? And it's an easy question because the answer is obvious. The reason why it's never the other way around is that it wouldn't be a fair fight. The woman would have absolutely no reason to choose the second guy. So there's really no reason to tell that story. There's no conflict because there's no contest. The woman, of course, would choose the rich and powerful man who believes in love. Do you understand? So what was the story before romance was invented? Like, how did it work in medieval and ancient times? Leaving aside the fact that women rarely got to choose their own partners, how were men selected for women back then?
I didn't mean to push pause, but it was a good thing. So give a clap was good. But this is an interesting part of this right here, guys. You know what I'm saying? What he's talking about right now is kind of like, how this junk start out, and this is kind of origin of things that you got right now. They call it game now, but it's really it's romance. You may not be I love you, all the little junk. That's not what I mean. I'm gonna explain that more at the end. Let's let him finish some more.
Well, before romance, it was just the rich, powerful guy against the poor, down on his luck dude, which, like my hypothetical counterexample, also isn't a fair fight. The first guy wins every single time. And in those times, not only did the rich and powerful men get their pick of the choicest women, it wasn't all that uncommon for these men to have a whole harem of women. I mean, according to the Bible, King Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. That guy had 1,000 women, which means that at that time in that place, there was probably 999 other guys who were pissed at Solomon for bogarting all the best ladies for himself. But can you really blame the women? Why wouldn't they choose Solomon? He was the king. He had the money and the palaces, which means he could offer resources and protection, and he was wise and generous to boot. The other guys couldn't compete. Now, because romance was actually a historical phenomenon, it originated in the south of France in the 15th century, we know who invented it. Men invented it, more specifically the chivalric knights of that time and place. And these men invented it for them, for men, not for women. And they invented romance in an attempt to compete with the rich and powerful men of their time for access.
Okay. Access to women is what I'm about to say. So, here's the deal. Game is the same thing. That's why I say game is for losers. It's the same thing as this. It's something that guys have created, which is the same thing as romance, to try to be able to compete with guys who have money, power, and status.
To the best women. And this is because if a guy couldn't convince a woman that he had something special, something intangible that the king didn't have, there's no way he's getting laid. The truth about romance is that it's a strategy that lower status men have.
Okay, real quick, I'm just throwing this in there. Every guy's come on my channel and try to tell me I didn't know what game was, started explaining to me and telling me that game was a strategy. And I know that it is. And he's explaining that now. Watch, just keep listening. It is a strategy. I agree with them at that part. It's a strategy for a low-class man.
Have adopted in their attempt to compete successfully with higher status men for women. This is also why romance is a young man's game, because most young men don't have anything to offer women.
Game is a young man's game also. Both of these things go together.
But they still want to get laid.
Right.
And if it works, it's a pretty slick game, because I, a lower status man, would have convinced you, an attractive woman, that this intangible feeling in my chest is actually more valuable and important to you than all the resources and opportunity that a higher status man could provide for you.
There it
I would
goes.
have to be extremely smooth for that to work. And to be honest, it usually doesn't. Women might think the second guy, the guy who calls himself a prince, is rather sweet and may even play around with him for a little bit. But they generally end up with the first guy, the guy who might actually be a prince and who can provide her with the kind of lifestyle that she would prefer. And this is just mind blowing for me because guys typically think that romance is for women. I mean, they don't want chocolates and flowers and poetry and jewelry, and they give these things because they think women do. But women still want Solomon, guys. Women still want the king, the powerful, wise, generous, rich alpha male. Things haven't changed because women's nature, like men's nature, hasn't really changed in the last few hundred years. The upshot is that romance was actually invented by men for men to help them compete with more powerful men who would otherwise completely destroy them in the sexual marketplace for desirable women. Take that in. What do you think? Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm, and see the About tab for more information on donations, consultations, and sponsorship opportunities.
Okay. Y'all like, subscribe, and share for me too. Help me out on the algorithm. Okay. So, here it goes. I'm getting ready to close this one out. This man explained this thing perfectly. And I like how in the end, he go ahead and he tells you, things haven't really changed. Nothing's really changed. Women still want the king. I mention a lot of the time when I'm in my videos about the Kevin Samuels show, because I know that most guys, people, or women, or anybody who watches this is going to probably ever watch that show. Women did not come on that show asking for the low level guys. Those are guys going to have the game. That's why I keep saying game. If you're at the bottom level, that's why you got to use it. It's like romance. You're at the bottom level if you got to use romance. You know what I'm saying? It's not saying that the guy that has the money and stuff probably doesn't do the same things, but you got to be a little bit more begging with yours because you can't offer the other shit that he's offering. This is the same thing as game. It's the same thing with game. You got to use game because you can't offer certain things that another person can offer. when Kevin Samuels was coming on and all those women was calling, they was asking for a certain type of guy, but most guys couldn't offer that. And game is even becoming obsolete now because, like you just said, women want the king. They still want the king. And they're getting even more aggressive with that, which the Kevin Samuels show was proving that. They get more aggressive with wanting the top-notch guy. Actually, most of these channels and most of these things, the whole doggone manosphere cries about that every day. So, y'all tell me what y'all think. But game is for losers. And it's about obsolete. It's the same thing as romance, because women don't really care about that no more either. Unless you got the money. That's pretty much what that is. So this been Charles Donnie, y'all. Go hard, go home channel. Y'all hit like, subscribe, share, drop the comments, let me know what you think. I'm out of here on this one. Game is for losers. It's obsolete, guys. Peace.